Hello all. So far we have seen how can we pull the records from OLTP system and load them into staging tables. And for that we use full load strategy. Now again, what full load strategy means? It means when we are pulling the records from OLTP or any source system, we are pulling all the records. There is no filtration. Okay. And the entire implementation we did using Python. Now only one piece which still remaining is a logging. Now why that logging is needed? So let's go back to our program. So if we run our program right now, so now all the entire load is succeeded. Okay, there is no failure, but even if it succeeded, that logging is happening on this terminal. Okay, it's printing whatever table which got loaded. Okay, now let's assume we move this entire implementation into production. Okay, and we scheduled it with some scheduler. Okay, now at that time will not have this terminal. Okay, that job is getting executed every day automatically. Okay, even if it is succeeding every day, will not come to know that since there is no terminal. And even if there is some terminal, let's assume every time to understand whether job got succeeded or failed, we need to log in into that particular environment and we'll have to see whether what's the status, what happened to our job, and that is something tedious task. Okay, but other than that, there are some more advantages. So if I go back to my documentation here, so I have listed down what all things I can think of. There will be many other reasons for which we need to implement the logging, but these are the four things which I can think of for which we have to implement the logging. It's a must. Okay, even though it's not needed, but it's really good to have. Okay, now first is, as I said, we do not know if we schedule that job in production environment, that job is running automatically with some scheduler, whether it is Windows scheduler or any other scheduling tool. That if that job is running on daily basis, and if we want to know, there is no way to understand whether job is running or not. So first thing is to understand our load, whether it got succeeded or failed. Now second thing is, if our load failed, so why that load failed. Okay, we understand the reason, we need to know the error message. If it got succeeded, then how many records my load uh, uh, pulled, how many records it pulled from source. Okay, and the last one is to understand the trend. Let's assume your job is running for a month or for a year. We need to know how many times or what particular time that job is failing. Or second is, even if job is running every day very successfully, how much data we are pulling, whether that load is increasing over a period of time or whether that load is decreasing over a period of time. So, or there can be many other reasons. Okay, so what we are doing is, instead of, I mean, you can implement this log strategy in text file also, or even in any other way, maybe a JSON file or XML file, whatever way you feel comfortable. But for me, I am going to show how can we put these logs into table itself. So for that, I am defining this table, DW job runs summary. You can give whatever name you want to. Let's understand what all columns or what all information I am storing here. Again, it's up to individual. They can have this information, they can add more information, or they can delete. If they don't want some of this info, they can just ignore it. So very first column is ID. It's a primary key. It's auto populated. We don't have to worry much about that. Second is the most important column, table name. This will tell us or give the information like what particular table we are currently loading or which particular table our job is currently processing. Okay, so as you can see, there are 7 entries, 7 different tables are there. So if I trigger this job, it should make an entry of each table. So 7 different entries into this job summary table. Next is start date time, at what time the table load started. End date time, at what time, whether it is success or failure, at what time the load ended. Row processed, how many rows my job processed. Status, whether it is success or failure. If it is failure, what was the error? Okay, this particular point. If it is failure again, which particular row failed. I mean, we cannot really track. I mean, there are different ways to track even the particular column, but we are not going to see that right now in this particular video. But we can at least understand which particular row failed. Okay, which particular row is having issue. Second last column is job run ID. So this will tell like how many times our job ran. So if we are scheduling that job on daily basis, so for 30 days that our job will run for 30 days. I mean, if that job is running on daily basis, after a month, it will be 30 or 31 job run ID. So job run ID will definitely will basically tell us how many times that particular job has ran. Last one is creation date. Again, it's auto populated date. Default is get date, so we don't have to worry much about that. It will just tell like on what particular day the record got created. Okay, so we'll create this table now, and this table has to be on our target table, like data warehouse environment. Okay, not on OLTP system. So let's go back here. I'll create this table. So I'm logging on data warehouse database. I have created that table. Okay. Now, as I said, we have to insert records into this table. Okay. So what I will do, I will create a separate file. So if we go back to our documentation or that diagram again, we have this separate Python file created. So I will do that same way. So let's go back .py and let me copy this. So let me define a loop first or method first. Def insert in, insert in into job run summary. Okay, and let me copy this. We don't need for loop because this for loop is needed only when there is a data frame. Okay, we don't have any data frame, so I will simply copy this try and except block. But before that, obviously I need these connection objects. So I'll copy this guy, and since we got the cursor object, we need to call cursor.execute and same insert statement. I will copy this guy as well. Okay, let me indent it. Okay, we are fine. We have to close the connection and we have to commit the transaction. So let me copy this guy as well. Okay, this is perfect. Now one thing is remaining, we have to change our table name. All right, even the column name. So what I will do, I will let me okay. Since as I said earlier, like ID is auto populated, created date is auto populated. We don't have to worry about those two columns. So I will copy remaining columns. Let's indent it. Okay, this is perfect. How many columns do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7. Oh, perfect. But one thing I missed it. See, this row is a object of data frame. I mean, when we are iterating, it returns the row. Okay. We don't have that data frame here. So we should not use these. So there has to be some variables. So basically what is going to happen is we are calling this function from other remaining program. Okay, like from employees.py, if it goes to exception block, it should log that. So ideally this function should expect the value from other methods or other classes, other program. Okay, and that value we should populate here. So what I will do, I will declare a variable here or in a function definition itself. So let's say table name. Second is start date time. Next is end date time. Next is rows processed, status, error message, column ID. We'll come to this. What column ID is? Job run ID. Okay, this is fine. And I will copy these variables. Instead of these rows, I will give this. Now we are good. Okay, now only thing which is remaining is we have to call this. Okay, one more thing is since we are creating this target connection, see it gave the error for DAO undefined variable. So I will import that, import DAO. This is fine. Fine. Error gone away. I think we are good. Okay, if there is an error, any error, we'll see. Okay, now our aim is to call this function again. So let's go back. As I said, there are two things which we have to take care. If it fails, we need to track it. If it succeeds, we still need to track it. So first we will add that in exception block. So we'll call this method. Rather, I will copy entire thing. All right, and we have to import this. Import dw job run summary as job run summary. This is fine. And let's call it. This is fine. And now let's understand these are different variables. We need to give the value. So table name is fine. Table name variable is already available. What about start date time? Start date time is not defined. So not here. So we have to define that value. So what start date time means over here is at what time the run start for that particular table. Okay. Time and date both. So let's find out how to get date and time in Python. Is the first URL which I got. What they are talking here is today's date. We need time as well. Today's date in different format. We don't need that. Current date and time. Okay. How we are getting date and time is date time dot now. Okay. So let's import this package first. Okay. And let me go back. What I will do is I will initialize this variable at very top. Okay. So my load is starting when I'm calling that function. Perfect. Next, let's go to, so this is taken care. What about end time? We don't have to, end time means what? If it failed or if it succeeded, at what time it failed or what time it succeeded. That means we don't have to initialize that very early. It's the same time when that record is getting inserted. Rows processed, how many rows got processed? Okay, so let's define a variable here. I will initialize that as 0 because very initially there are no rows processed. We should increment that counter when we are inside for loop. So plus equal to 1. We are incrementing that counter by 1 and that is getting now status. Since we are adding this under exception block, status is always fail. Error message. Now remember I told you there is a need to typecast this E. So E is not of type string. E is basically of type exception there. You cannot use E directly over here. You cannot pass that exception object into a SQL server. Okay, so we need to first cast that as a string and then you can pass it. So we don't need this type. We don't need to understand the type. I will remove this and I will copy this guy. Okay, now what is column ID? Column ID is the primary column as I said. So in this particular case for employees, employee ID is a primary column and that is nothing but this. Yeah, so we are good here. So we did it for exception block. Now similar thing we have to replicate for success as well. So I will come out of this for loop and I will copy the same guy here. And let's change the few values. So when it comes to success, the message should be different. Success. These things will still remain same. There will not be any error message. So I will keep it blank. There are no rows. This is also error rows so, or we don't have to populate any primary key here because there is no error. So this is also fine and we'll keep this 0 as is. So I think we are good. Let's run it and let's see what happens. It failed. What it says is, oh, okay, we don't need this code. Okay, let's run it again. It succeeded. Okay, let's go back to our table and let's see. Select star from. Okay, so it got we got one entry, and since everything was successful, 107 records got processed. This is the created time. At this time, the run started, and there is a difference. There is a small difference, some milliseconds. Okay, and let's go back and check number of records in actual employees table. It is 107. All right, and yeah. Okay, now let me run this again. So now I should see another entry here. Let me, yeah, so there are two entries now, and even in second entry there are 107 records. And if I run this select query here, it should still show me 107 records because there are no duplicates. We are truncating the table before any every load, and we are repopulating that. So that's why always 107 records are there. Okay, now what we'll do is we haven't checked this for, so we did check it for success, which is working fine. We have to check it for exception log as well. So if it fails, what happens? So let me go back, and I will comment this one fill na, and we know uh, uh, when we are pulling the records in the data frame, if there are null or empty string in source, data frame is populating that with nan. Okay, and it is trying to insert that nan value in when this insert script trying to insert that nan value into SQL Server database, it is failing there, and that's the reason we are converting that nan to empty string or null value here. Okay, now if I uncomment it, obviously it will fail. So we'll see that. Okay, as you can see, as expected, it failed, but my program never got terminated because because of this except block, it handled it. That exception got handled. Okay, but let me go back here and let's see what's happening in our. Okay, not this. Let's check it here. Okay, so these were the two first runs. That is fine. There are other failures, but see, there is another success, third success. Why that is happening? So let's figure out again. I will truncate it, truncate table. If I run it, there are no records. If I run here, there is a failure, and remaining other tables are getting loaded. All employees table, we have failure, but there is again a success message. What it says is number of rows processed 107, and message is success. But if I run this employees table, it has zero record. So this is something misleading, and that should not happen. Now, why it is happening? First of all, so it's happening because when it's failing, when particular row is not able to insert records into database or in employees table, st underscore employees table, that error is getting handled in our exception block. Okay, but once all the rows got processed, 107 records got processed, it will come out of this for loop. It is calling that insert statement again. Okay, and this statement is inserting this success block. So that is something not correct. So we have to call this method in success only when all the records are successfully inserted. If there is any single error, we should not call this. Okay, so we can handle that very simply. So what I will do, I will declare another variable called success. It's a boolean variable, and I will define that value as true, and I will uh, reset that value to false in my exception block, and I will call this next method in my success block only when there is no error. So if it is really a success, then only you call it. All right. And yeah, I think it should work. What I will do, I will truncate it again. Truncate table. All right, and let's run it. So ideally, I should not see any success block now because this should not get called. Okay. See, there is no success entry. All failure entries are there. That is one thing. Another thing, the beauty of our error handling is now we can actually identify what is the error. So if I go and check this error message, it's telling me it's a SQL Server error. Definitely, it's not a Python error. So that means while inserting, something went wrong. So inserting into database. What that is wrong? So if you see, the supplied value is not a valid instance of data type float. So we have seen that it is trying to insert NaN, whereas the database is expecting a float value, and we have seen that in earlier videos. Another thing is, so one advantage is definitely we can see the error message. Another thing, we can also see which particular row is having that issue. So this is a primary key which we are storing. So if I go back to my transactional database, so this is a transactional database. If I query my employees table here, where employee ID, because we are storing the primary key, so this particular row has an issue. Okay, and as you can see, obviously might be these two columns we'll have to check, and we have seen that in past. Okay, so this is the advantage of logging everything into a database. I mean, you can log that into flat file as well, but why database is more convenient? You can query it. Okay, you can identify with simple query how long it took to insert this record. All right. So the next thing is what we'll do. I will replicate the same code in other files as well. So let me copy this. Let me first copy this guy. All right. I will copy this statement as well. Um, One more thing which is still pending is we have to copy these two imports. All right. And we have to initialize these two variables. And still one more thing which is pending is we have to increment that row processed variable. We'll do that. We have to define the success true as well. This is something I missed. So if all my copy paste drama is finished and if I haven't done any mistake, ideally my code should work fine without any issues. And before running my code again, I will truncate the table so that it will be easy for us to see the logs. So I will do one thing, truncate table. All right, let's run it. There are no records, and I will clear it and I will execute. So ideally, I should see. Okay, it failed. Why it failed? If success in which table job regions.py. If success. Okay, I have to. I forgot this one. False. This is one thing which I forgot. Another thing what it's saying is job run summary. This is fine. Success is not defined. Success is defined here. It still says job run summary, DW job run summary. Oh, I should not have added here. That's the problem. Okay, this is one thing, and another thing I realize is I should make that value false in every exception that I missed. Yeah, remaining things are correct. Yeah, yeah, I think we are good. It should not fail this time. Perfect. So one more thing I missed was, I mean, we should see all the entries here now. So where status state US equal to success. Okay, I can see 6 entries exactly because employees table got failed. And if I see not equal to, I should see only employees. This is perfectly fine. I will still truncate it. All right, and I will go back and I will uncomment it so that there will not be any error. If I run it again, it should work perfectly fine. Let's run it. See, exactly 7 rows, and it's saying at what time the particular table load started and what time that corresponding table load ended. It's giving me number of rows processed, message whether it got successful or not. One thing is job run ID. Ideally, this should not be zero. This is supposed to be one. But since we are hard coding that value, it's not a variable. We are passing zero by default. That's why it is showing as zero. If I run this again, it's the second time I am running it. Let's run this. So this is the second run. It starts with regions. Okay, it's a second run. So this entry should be 1, this entry should be 2. So this value of this job run ID value supposed to tell me how many times that entire load has happened. Okay, we'll see that in next video. Okay, but the purpose of this entire video is I wanted to show you the use use of this DW job run summary, how it is useful when it is success, and even if there is a failure, how can we store the corresponding error message and backtrack it. Okay, so thank you for watching this video and see you in the next video.